The member for Hughes has the call.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Well, I'm pleased to rise to speak on this motion moved by the member for Indi, and I can appreciate the member for Indi's concerns on this. There is no doubt that many people in our society get trapped into payday lending. And there is no doubt, Madam Deputy Speaker, that some of the interest rates, when we look at them, are completely outrageous and, in fact, a complete rip-off. Agree 100%, and I respect your concerns. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, we need to be very careful when we legislate in this place. Ultimately, no one forces a person to sign that contract. And what we need to be careful with, Madam Deputy Speaker, is if we make legislation in this place, what we can actually do is deny credit to people that need it in emergency circumstances. There are many circumstances where people in our society, Madam Deputy Speaker, need credit in emergency circumstances. And when we put restrictions on it, all it does is the adverse and unintended consequence of that policy, Madam Deputy Speaker, even though it is very well intentioned, and even though it's well intentioned, and even though it's done in the belief that we're helping people. If you reduce the limit of credit available to people, you will simply deny people access at sometimes when they need it. Now, there are certainly times, as I agree, that high rates of credit and high rates of interest are quite outrageous. But we have seen circumstances, but the reason often those high rates of interest is because those loans have high rates of default. We've seen people, some of the credit providers we've had them in the Parliament, and we've had discussions with them, and we've asked them, what is your biggest cost of doing business? And their biggest cost of doing business, Madam Deputy Speaker, is the bad loans that they have to write off. So sure, we could mandate, and let's make the maximum rate of loan 10% across the board, that they can't charge more than 10%. That would be wonderful in the ideal world. But all that would mean, yes, of course it's easy, maximum of 10%, but all that would do is dry up the ability of many people to obtain credit at the time that they desperately need it, Madam Deputy Speaker. We hear what we see. They live, unfortunately, in this ideal utopian world, not in the real world, where people have to actually survive, Madam Deputy Speaker, and make hard decisions. No one in this Parliament wants to see high rates of interest and credit. And as I said, I perfectly respect the member for Indi's position on that. But we need to be very careful and think through the unintended consequences of any legislation that we bring into this Parliament. And when we put price caps on anything, no matter what that good or service may be, Madam Deputy Speaker, when we put a price cap on it, we simply limit the supply of that good or that service that will be supplied. And it is no different through credit or through finance. If we put a limit, an interest rate limit on what can be charged, we will deny certain people the amount of finance and their ability to seek finance, especially at times that they desperately need it. I wish there was an easier solution. And we need, Madam Deputy Speaker, to help people in this instance. And the best thing that we can do is to try and get the cost of living down for vulnerable people in our community. The best thing that we can do is make sure that there are plenty of job opportunities for people in our community. And that is what the concentration of this government has been, Madam Deputy Speaker. We've seen, since the election of the coalition government, over 1 million new jobs. 1 million new jobs have been created under this government, not created by government, but be created by entrepreneurs that are prepared to take a risk to employ people. That's what we need to encourage to make sure we can raise the living standards of people. We need to make sure we've got to get cost of living down, especially in the space of energy, Madam Deputy Speaker. But so many I see, my friends that sit over on that side of the Parliament, don't care about that. They would rather virtue signal to the Greens than actually take effect of the cost of living. And we see many, Madam Deputy Speaker, the costs of the subsidies that are continually paid for renewable energy. They are borne by the most vulnerable people in our community. They are the most regressive policies that we have because they go on the straight, they go on the top of everyone's electricity bill. $3.6 billion gets added to everyone's electricity bill. If you are concerned about cost of living, let's get rid of those subsidies.
The member for Hughes' time has expired.